Hello, how are you doing? Today I will be starting a special series which I have termed cybersecurity. So I will be taking my time to go through different cybersecurity tools, technologies, settings that we can improve that can make our life better in the cyber security space. So I will be starting today with safeguard Microsoft 365 with MFA. So most of us might be familiar with MFA, maybe some of us might not. So I will quickly do justice to that, and then I would explain further. So I believe you will learn a lot from this series, and I want to encourage you to stay focused so that you can learn. Maybe if you are an administrator, you will learn from this. If you are just maybe a sole proprietorship that you are managing your own Microsoft 365 alone, this would benefit you a lot to tighten up security in your environment, and also make the environment look good. So what am I going to cover in today's class? So here is my agenda for today's class. So we look into introduction to multi-factor authentication, simply known as MFA. What is MFA, why it is essential, and how it reduces the risk of account compromise. We also go through overview of MFA options in Microsoft 365. So the three ways we can enable MFA in Microsoft 365, and we go to the security default itself, which is the one we are actually focusing on in this class, and what is it and why was it introduced, its benefit and its limitations. And then I would take you through the practical session of how to enable security defaults, and then we wrap it up for today. So let's go. So why is MFA essential in Microsoft 365 security? Well, maybe you might not noticed MFA simply means multi-factor authentication, so I would just stay with that throughout the session of this class. So multi-factor authentication is a security feature that require user to provide one or more form of identification to access their account. So it actually acts as an additional layer of protection, which make it harder for attackers to break in, even if by some means they were able to get the password. So which makes it very important. So maybe an attacker by some means they gain access to password, so they would never be able to get into the account because MFA provide another layer of authentication. So why is it important? So according to the recent study, implementing MFA can actually prevent up to 99% of account compromise. So this is actually a research that was carried out. So 99% of account compromise are usually prevented by MFA alone. So fine, we know that there are techniques these days that people are using to bypass MFA, but nonetheless it actually prevents 99% of account compromise. With cyber criminals constantly finding new ways to exploit weak password or use stolen credential, so MFA is essential because it will actually safeguard your account. Now, this second form of verification can be maybe a phone notification, through SMS, through Microsoft application, or whatsoever means of getting the authentication. Might also be through biometric. But the most important thing is that MFA stop unauthorized access to account. On the next slide I have here, so overview and options in Microsoft 365. So basically we have three methods that I know of to enable MFA in Microsoft 365. So each method actually offer different levels of control and customization, and this also depends on what the organization really needs. But in this class I will focus on just one of it, which is security default. In the subsequent class I will pick each of other methods and we'll discuss and then also practicalize how to do or use them. But in this class I will focus on security default. So security default is an easy all-in-one security setting that enforces recommended security practices, and that is what I will check or what we'll review in today's video. So it actually enforces those security recommendation in your tenant. So now to deep dive fully. So security default in Microsoft 365. Enabling security default in Microsoft 365 automatically enforce several essential security features. Some of those security features are some of the policy in code that have been set by Microsoft and deem it fit that at least on a standard baseline every organization should have these settings in place. So what will security default do for you? I have them listed here. Mandatory MFA for admins. It will ensure that all users or all administrators that have some kind of privileges, they use MFA. So it will just strictly enforce that. Another thing it will do, user MFA registration. It will prompt all the user to register for MFA during signing, such that they can all set up their account. And another thing, it blocks legacy authentication. So it disables some of these protocols that the attackers use to exploit the system. Some of these old protocols that are not essentially really in use, although we have some other legacy applications that are still using it, protocol like POP3 and IMAP. Those are some of protocol that the attackers can really exploit. So once you enable security default, it will disable all those ports on your tenant, in the sense that you will not be able to use them. So if you however have some application that are using these ports or this protocol, then it means that security default might not be ideal for you, as we will discover in this class. You will discover why security default does not fit in for everybody by the time we start looking at the pros and cons just in this class. So what else will it do for you? It will elevate security across applications. So it will apply some security measures across various Microsoft 365 applications, giving the entire environment a consistent layer of protection. So it just set up some baseline policy that Microsoft has put in place for the security default setup, and that policy would be enforced across all the organization. So This approach provides a robust starting point for organizations that may not have in-house IT or security team. Yeah, so this approach is very good for maybe if your organization is not large, you have some kind of a small organization or maybe small team that you are managing. Yes, this might fit in, but it might not also fit in maybe if you have some legacy application that are currently using the ports like IMAP or POP3 that refers to as legacy authentication or legacy port that this security default would block. So what are the pros of security default? The advantages. So let's look at it one by one. Easy to set up. As I have mentioned, it's just one click, you are there, you set it off. It's not complex, it does not need any settings or any other thing. Just one click, you are there, and that is why it's one of the advantages I have mentioned here. It is easy to set up. So number two, protection for everyone. So once you set up your security default, everyone has a layer of protection already. Be admin, be user, be some form of devices that you are using. Everybody have a layer of security of protection already. So the next one I have here is reduce account compromise risk. Once you have your MFA set up, you have a second layer of authentication that would prevent unauthorized access into your services or into your portal. So the next one I have here is block vulnerable legacy ports, which I have mentioned earlier, legacy protocol rather. So blocking this outdated protocol, security default automatically close some of these riskiest entry points. Now, some of those ports or some of those protocol are very risky. A good very example that I've mentioned earlier is IMAP. IMAP does not understand multi-factor authentication. So if I set up a mailbox using IMAP, it automatically means that I cannot set up MFA on that account because IMAP does not understand MFA. So that is why that is why Microsoft will usually block some of all these ports that does not understand MFA. They are really not modern ports. So some of these modern protocol or port, as the case may be, they understood this MFA standard, and that is why we have them in place. So here I have the cones here. So what are the cones of security default? While security default offer a great baseline level of security, they aren't always the best fit, and here are some of the few limitations I have listed here. Limited customization. Security default are standardized. If you need to customize MFA policy, you will find them restrictive, and that is just the truth. You cannot customize security default. So for example, I mentioned that it will block legacy protocol. We have some printers, we have some in-house application that are still extensively using this port, and maybe due to one or two reasons the developer has not created an updated versions, or maybe the application will end up not supporting this new protocol and all that. There may be so many reasons why you have a legacy application that are still using this port. So if you enable security default, it automatically means that you cannot use this port again and you cannot customize security default, and that is one of the limitations. Another one is all or nothing approach, because once you enable it, it blocks everything, still further emphasize you not being able to customize this setting. So the next one I have here is not ideal for complex environment. Yeah, it's not ideal. Sometimes you might really want to disable MFA for some reasons, maybe for some testing, or some maybe the developer is trying to test some things and things like that. So security default or MFA will make their work a bit more complex, so they need something just to test. So, and if you have your site or your tenants locked down by security default, you cannot do anything. So it's not really ideal for a complex environment. So just like what I have here, if your organization has advanced security needs, you may need something more flexible, like conditional access. So conditional access is another way of setting up MFA, which I would come to in my subsequent class. So just give out one of the other methods we can set up MFA. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that we have three methods, and in this class I will focus on only security default. So the next one I have in number 4, say MFA requirement for all user. You can see this can be disruptive, especially if some users aren't familiar with MFA. Initial onboarding may take extra time. So if you have users that are not familiar with it, or they've not used it before, they might need some form of training, but security default will not give you that luxury of trying to train or giving some people to get used to it. It just set up everything, right? So this limitation means that security defaults are not fantastic for smaller are fantastic for smaller organizations, but might not suit large ones with complex security need, and that is what we are seeing. So next one, next agenda here is the practical. So let's quickly go through the practical of how to enable security defaults. Okay, so I have my tenant open already. So here is my tenant. So how can you enable security defaults? You enable security defaults in Entra ID. So I'm going to my Entra ID. So just give it a few seconds while it open up. So here on my Entra ID, usually it will take you to this home page overview, home page here. So once you're on this home page, you click on property, and when you click on property, you scroll down a bit, you would see security default. So your organization is not protected by security default, so you click on manage security default, and you select it and you click on save, and that is all you need to do to enable security default. Next time, if your user would log in, they would all get a notification that the organization has enabled a policy, and they would be forced to enroll into Microsoft. They will be forced to enroll to MFA. They would use their phone to register for the MFA and complete the MFA setup. So let's go back to my slide. So as you have seen, it is quite straightforward. It does not really need any further settings, any difficult setting, which actually makes it ideal for everybody. So here is a question: is security default right for you or not? So you can decide for yourself based on the pros and cons that I have just mentioned. So, security defaults, is it the right choice for your organization? I would say if you have a simple need, effective security solution with minimal setup, security default is an excellent option for you. It provides solid protection against common attack and enforces MFA for all users, making it a strong starting point for Microsoft 365 security. However, if you require more granular control, which might be as a result of you trying to allow some users to use MFA or disable MFA for some users or for some other special reason, then I think conditional access would be ideal for you. And this conditional access will cover it in my next or subsequent video series as I go through this cybersecurity series. So I would want you to stay tuned and also subscribe to my channel. So subscribe so that you can get some of the notification that I will be dropping concerning other cybersecurity tips and other method of enabling MFA on your tenant. And in addition, if you would like to get this slide, or you would like to get notified anytime I have trainings, because I usually set up trainings occasionally, maybe for some set of people that would want to learn few things in Microsoft 365 and would like to join any of these my training, I would drop a link on the comment section. You can follow the link and submit your email address so that anytime I have a one-on-one training, I would send out email so that you can join the meeting as the case may be if you have chance. And if you also need to get the slide or you want to get connected to our community where we share one or two tips pointing at a particular point in time, you can also enter or submit your email via the link. And also remember to subscribe so that I can get notified next time I come on board with a new video. Till I come your way, stay blessed and have a very wonderful day. Bye bye.